Hello, this is Sunny, Frogman Aneurysm Podcast, a real story from the edge of life and the road back so far. Well, after they discovered the bad valve, the next step was determining how to fix it. The plan was to go through the Genival program, something less invasive, which didn't happen to use another full open heart surgery. So I was sent home again and told to wait. The doctor said it would take about 4 to 6 weeks to get approval from both the hospital and the Genival board. At home, I was still very much in recovery mode. My chest was healing, but day-to-day life was nothing like it used to be. I did the exercises the nurses gave me. Then I started adding my own, just trying to rebuild the strength in my body that really hadn't been used for over 6 months. Simple things weren't simple anymore. I had my brother-in-law mowing the lawn, which kind of bugged me, and other people were helping with things that not long ago were just part of my normal routine. What I really noticed was the loss of stamina. Things like planting, weeding, basic gardening, working outside would wear me out fast. My heart and lungs just didn't have what they used to. My wife and I started taking walks, slow ones at first, but we got faster over time. And I worked my way back to driving myself to appointments. But everything took effort and lots of prep. In the back of my mind, there was always that thought, am I going to hurt something inside? Healing itself takes much longer than you think. I never really understood that until I went through it myself. And one of the hardest parts was depending on other people. I didn't like it, not at all. But you got to get to a point where you don't have a choice and you have to accept it. After about 6 weeks, I called the doctor to check in. I'd figured I'd be close to the procedure. And that's when I got the news. The hospital had approved the procedure, but the Genival board, they had not. That really hit hard because now the alternative wasn't minor anymore, like less invasive surgery. It was looking like I might have to go through open heart surgery again. I wasn't really worried about the surgery so much, but the thought of going through that recovery a second time, well, I dreaded it. My doctor said there was one more option, a hardship letter. There was actually such a thing. I was amazed and hopeful. And my doctor basically laid out my entire case history to the Genival board in a letter, hoping that they'd reconsider. And so we did that, and then more waiting. By that point, about 3 months had passed. The one positive was that my body was continuing to heal from the first surgery. I kept moving, kept walking faster, kept doing small projects and bigger projects then, just trying to get a little stronger each day. And honestly, I started to wonder if maybe my heart was improving on its own. I didn't feel great, but I didn't feel terrible either. There were still stamina issues, but compared to where I had been, it felt like progress. But in the back of my mind, the question was always there. Are they going to have to open me up again? I went back to mowing my own grass, took care of a smaller garden, started picking up more of my everyday responsibilities of being a homeowner again. All the while, I kept checking in with the hospital every couple of weeks. Still no word. At one point, I went back for more testing, this time with a Genival representative. She put me through all kinds of tests, stamina tests. So things were still moving, just slowly. Then finally, after about 5 months, I got the call. I was approved. A hardship case, they called it. I didn't care what they called it. To me, it meant one thing: no second open heart surgery. Instead, they would go up through a vein through my groin and guide the new valve up into my heart and place the valve on top of the old one that wasn't doing its job properly anymore. It just sounds amazing, but a much less invasive procedure. At least that's what I was telling myself. So we scheduled it. After about 6 months of waiting, it was finally happening. The procedure itself would take a few hours, then about 2 days of recovery to make sure everything was working the way it should. I came out of the procedure okay. Everything looked good. And after about 4 days in the hospital, they sent me home. But as soon as I got home, the phone rang. Literally, as soon as I got home. It was the hospital. They had been monitoring my heart, and something wasn't right. The new valve was interfering with the electrical signal in my heart. The signal that controls the rhythm from top to bottom. And that meant one thing: I needed a pacemaker. Well, I wasn't happy about that, not at all. But at the same time, they had told me there was a chance I would need a pacemaker. They said that would happen, and it did. Still, after everything, it felt like one more thing. So now I'm back again. This time it's for something they tell me is necessary to keep my heart beating the way it's supposed to. A pacemaker. At this point, I've got a synthetic aorta above my heart, a replacement valve made from animal tissue inside my heart, and now a battery-powered device sitting on my upper chest muscle right on my shoulder. And battery life, well, they say it's 10 years if I'm lucky. I mean, remember the Bionic Man from back in the day? I'm getting pretty close here. Not that I ever planned on that. This part of the recovery, this final stretch, it's different. Not as brutal as the first round. No 12-inch scar this time, but it's still a process. Over the next few weeks, things slowly started coming back. I could move again more freely, exercise more, get outside again, do my chores. I kept working on strength, balance, stamina. I'm not where I used to be, but I'd say I'm at about 90% of back to normal, whatever that was. And I test that. Most mornings I do jumping jacks, just like back in high school track, and see how long it takes to push my heart up to the target stress rate, which is around 144 beats per minute for my age. It's kind of my way of checking in. Physically, I feel better every day. Mentally, well, that's a different story. I eat really healthy now, and for a while was probably too healthy. No fun in my diet, if that's even a thing. I'm always aware of my heart. I've got a watch that probably shouldn't be on my wrist all day, but it is. I check my blood pressure more than I probably need to. But slowly, I'm backing off that also. Slowly, I'm letting myself live a little again. Even eating things I know that aren't exactly approved. Then there's also this thought that sits in the background. I actually had a clause in my will about what to do in case something goes wrong with me. They call it something like an advance directive. Well, that part about the will, I'm not going to get into the details of that. Maybe I never will. But just having to think about something like that, it changes you a bit. It puts things in your head that weren't there before. And that's really where the next phase hit me the hardest. Not physically, but mentally. Because physically, I'm doing okay. Every week stronger, more stamina, more balance. Outwardly, it probably looked like I was getting back to normal. But inside, I was paying attention to everything, every heartbeat, every little flutter, every time my breathing fell a little bit off. I had to watch on constantly, checking numbers, heart rate, blood pressure, just like I was trying to stay one step ahead of something. Like if I monitored it closely enough, I could control it. And maybe that's part of it. When something happens you can't control, you start trying to control everything afterward, even the small stuff. And then there's the outside world. Getting back out there wasn't just physical either. It was mowing the lawn, being out in the yard, doing normal things, yes. But now every one of those things has a question attached to it. Is it too much? I didn't think about that before. You just live. Now you measure, at least I measured. Even being around family, something you want, something that matters, there's this quiet awareness in the background. Not fear exactly, but awareness. Like part of your brain is always running a check in the background. Am I okay right now? And the strange part is, at the same time all of that is happening, you are grateful. So grateful for everything. Grateful to be outside. Grateful to see the sky. Grateful to hear the birds. Grateful to move. Grateful to even have a chance to ask these questions. And so, this mix, progress and hesitation, strength and second guessing, living, but more aware than you were ever before. And I think that's something people don't really talk about. Recovery isn't just getting your body back. It's about learning how to live again with a completely different mindset. This is Sonny, Frogman Aneurysm Podcast, a real story from the edge of life and the road back so far.